Alright, so we are on the My Account page inside of HostJack. First thing we're going to need to do is log into our account. Now you can do this two ways. You can do this by going to the login page itself, which is your domain, let's say .com/wp-admin. If you just add that last little bit right here underneath the mouse, if you look, the /wp-admin, if you can add that directly after your domain, it will take you to the WordPress login page. You can also, from this page, if you click on Manage All under Manage WordPress, you'll get to this page, and then you can just simply click Edit Site, and it will automatically take you into your WordPress admin and get you logged in. Now, the first time you're logging in, you're going to have this quick start wizard, if you will. I'm going to go ahead and click No Thanks, and we're going to do all this manually. We will click OK for the pop-up. Congratulations, you are officially inside of your WordPress dashboard. Now this is where you're going to want to be 90% of the time. From your dashboard, you can update your blog, you can update pages, add new content, upload images, and everything you need to do for your website. So from here, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come up to the dismiss box, or X, if you will, and we're going to go ahead and dismiss the welcome message. We'll minimize a couple of these and just free up some space just so it looks a little bit more on the clean side. And we're going to go ahead and get started by deleting all of our defaults. So the first thing we're going to do is go in Posts, go under All Posts. We're going to go ahead and trash Hello World. Once it's in the trash, we'll click on Trash and delete permanently. Then we're going to come down to the next thing, which is Pages, and go All Pages. You'll have two pages here. We are going to trash this sample page. Do not, I repeat, please do not do anything to the privacy policy page yet. We're going to go ahead and trash the sample page, and then we'll go into trash and delete permanently the sample page. Once again, we are not deleting the privacy policy. So we'll delete the sample page, go back to all, and then you'll see the privacy policy page is still there. Once we've done that, we're going to go down to Appearance and Themes. And then we're going to remove the 2017 and the 2016 default themes. So you're going to click on the theme at Details, click Delete, and confirm that you want to delete the theme. We'll click on that, delete, and OK. And then when you get down to where the only theme you have is 2019, we're good with themes until we come back here in a second and install our themes. So we're going to go into plugins next. And this is where we're going to come in and basically take these two forms that are not currently active. We're going to check both of those, and we're going to delete those. And click Apply and OK. Now that those two have deleted, we have the default content, if you will, all deleted and ready for us to get started putting our information in. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to come down to Users and go to Your Profile. This is totally personal preference. I like to come in here and fill this out as much as possible while starting a new site. So when you're in the WordPress website, you want to make sure, especially when you're in the early building phases, I'll be able to talk eventually, I promise. You'll want to make sure that you have this checkbox checked, because this will give you this toolbar that you see across the top of the page while you view your website. That being said, the next thing we're going to go, we'll do first name, last name, nickname required. I'll just CJ Halleck, displayed publicly as CJ. Email is required. You cannot change this without confirming from the other email address. Your website, you want to make sure that you put your entire website, including the HTTPS. And I'm going to go ahead and put in webdesignwebinar.com. And because I'm seeing some drop downs pop up with a couple of client names and stuff, that this will be blurred out and covered for privacy. The next thing is your bio. If you want to go ahead and fill out your bio, I don't have that set right now. your profile picture. This is more for comments than anything, so your picture can show up in your comments and things like that. That is set up on Gravatar. That's stuff we can cover in the extended education modules. The last thing I'm going to cover is the password. If you ever need to come in here and change your password, you can do so by clicking generate password. You have this crazy jargon nonsense here. You can go ahead and delete that, type in your new password. You can click hide if you don't want to see the characters and you're typing on something like a screen recording like I'm doing right now, but I'm going to go ahead and click cancel. I like my password. And I'm not going to actually go into saving this. I'm sorry, you're updating this profile because I don't have all my content ready for this. Like I said, that's totally fine if you don't have your content. Just want to make sure that you understand this is where you would customize anything for your profile. You want to make sure that you have some information here, especially if you're going to be doing a lot of blogging, things of that nature. That being said, next thing is to go in and get started installing and customizing our website with themes, with the theme and plugins. So we're going to start with the themes. We're going to come in and we're going to click on add new, and we're going to search for the hello theme. So we're just going to type in hello, and here we go, hello Elementor. So we're going to go ahead and click on install, and then it's going to install, and then we're going to activate. Once you have this activated, it's going to be a little bit of a change. If you did take a look at the website before we got started with the webinar with just the basic WordPress install, it may look a little bit different, but we're going to change all of that over time. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to install all of our plugins, but we're going to do it with a shortcut. So we're going to go to add new plugin. Under plugins, click on add new, and we're going to search for WP Faves. WP Favs. And it's WP Faves Plugin Manager. We're going to install that now. And once it's installed, we're going to go ahead and activate it. Now the thing with this is how we're going to bulk install all of the plugins that we need, with the exception of the Elementor Pro plugin, which we will get to here in a second. But this will allow us to do everything at once and not have to go through and search for each plugin one at a time. So in order to do that, we're going to come back to the before we start page, and we're going to come inside of the box for the bulk installer quick key, and we're going to highlight that, and we're going to right click on it, and we're going to copy that. So we're going to copy this text right here, and it looks crazy, but it doesn't need to make sense to us. So we're going to come in here under the quick key for WP Faves, and we're going to right click and paste that in, and simply click quick load. This is going to go pull that list out that I've put together for you guys as the core plugins, and it will run this list to start getting everything installed, and then we can go through and activate. So we're going to go ahead and click on run this list. We'll check the box at the top to auto select all of the plugins, and then under bulk actions we'll go ahead and click on install and click apply. Now most of the time, if you're familiar with the settings, you can go in and activate everything at once. To make it easier for, honestly, me to make sure I don't skip any steps, because I am human and I do that a lot, I'm going to go through and activate these one at a time. And what I mean by that is, as we install this all at once, you can activate everything at once, but the problem in doing that is sometimes it helps, if you will, enable you to forget things. So I like going through one at a time and activating everything. So you see here, everything has been installed. If you click on return to WP Faves installer, you can see all of them are installed and ready to be activated. I'm going to go into plugins, click on installed plugins, and you'll see the same thing here. So the next thing, and you can see it says right here, I guess, there's a brand new update for the fast velocity minify. Not a problem. I will show you how to update all that when the time comes. So now that we have them all installed, we're going to go through and activate one at a time with each of the steps that we need to do inside of the settings for each plugin. So we're going to start with auto optimize. I'm going to go ahead and click activate. And now that it's activated, I'm going to come down to the settings on the left. We're going to go down to auto optimize and click on auto optimize. All right, now that we're here, we're going to go ahead and check this first box to optimize JavaScript code. We'll uncheck the second box. We'll do the same thing for CSS options. Check the first, uncheck the second. We'll check the optimize HTML code, and then we'll come down and click on Save Changes and Empty Cache. Now that you've done that, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go into Extra. We're going to click on the very last option for Google Fonts, and then we'll check these next two boxes to remove the WordPress core emojis and the query strings, and then we'll come down and click on Save Changes. Now that we have auto optimized complete, the next thing is to go into plugins and move on with our next plugin, Black Hole for Bad Bots. Click Activate. And the only thing we're doing here is go into Black Hole, we'll go to Settings, and then we're going to basically just come right here and undo this check to make sure that we have the email alerts turned off. We'll go down to the bottom and click on Save Changes. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to come into Plugins, and we're going to activate Elementor. There are no settings for Elementor itself, although there will be a complete walkthrough for Elementor and Elementor Pro inside of the extended education modules, and that leads us to Elementor Pro. So because it is a paid plugin, I could not set it up to install with the quick key, so we're going to have to upload the plugin manually, and that's not a problem. All you need to do is come over to Plugins and click on Add New. Once you're here, you'll just simply need to click on Upload Plugin. And then once you are here, you can click on Choose File and find the file that way. Or I actually have it open in a second window, so I'm going to actually grab the plugin and I'm going to drag it in and put it right on Choose File, and we'll install now. Now that you have that installed, we're going to go ahead and click Activate. And while that did activate with WordPress, you still need to connect it and activate it with the Elementor platform itself. Go ahead and click on Connect and Activate. We're going to go ahead and log in here. And then once you're logged in, it will actually take you to a page that actually verifies your license for the page builder Elementor. And then it will actually ask you if you want to go ahead and connect. We're going to go ahead and connect. And then now, just like that, Elementor Pro is good to go. That being said, if you do not have Elementor Pro, you can get a license at www.buyprolink.com. It is my affiliate link, and if you do buy through the link, I will receive a compensation, and that is at no extra cost to you. Price doesn't go up or down whether you use my affiliate link or you go straight to the Elementor website. So now that we have everything activated for the Elementor Pro, the next thing we're going to do inside of the plugins, go back to install plugins, and we're going to do fast velocity minify. Since there is a new version of this, I'm going to go ahead and click on update now and let that go ahead and update before I activate it. I'm going to go ahead and click on activate. And now that that is activated, we can move on to the next one because there are no steps to set this up, which is heartbeat control. We're going to go ahead and activate that one. There's a couple settings in this one, but it's not too bad. So we're going to go ahead and go to settings and heartbeat control settings. And then we're going to take the allow heartbeat to modify heartbeat. We'll select all three, and then we'll just drag the frequency from 15 all the way over to 300. And then come down and click on Save Changes. Now I'm going to go ahead and X out these pop-ups because I don't need those. And then the next thing we're going to do, according to our lovely outline here, is we're going to go to Pretty Links and we're going to activate Pretty Links. And I'm going to show you how awesome this plugin is. I've seriously been using this plugin for years. I love this plugin. It's one of my favorite plugins. So we're going to go ahead and activate. And what this does is this actually allows you to have your own custom URL shortener. Kind of like the Bitly's and the different, website URL shorteners like that. But it's yours. It's your name. So instead of having like a massive, and we'll go down the sideline, if you just go ahead and go to pretty links, you'll see here, we'll go add new. So for instance, if your website, let's say your Facebook page or Instagram account, we'll say Facebook. So it's your Facebook page is going to be https, and then it's going to be facebook.com/web design webinar. Now this is a decent link. Like, this is not too bad compared to some of the longer links that are on the internet. If you're looking at a LinkedIn page, then it's gonna, be a bit longer. YouTube channel can be massive with all the crazy characters at the end. But you just put where you want the customer or your visitors to land, and then from here you just come down to this section right here, and then you can just put webinar. And then now anytime you send people to yourbrandsname.com/webinar, it'll automatically redirect. So we're gonna go ahead and you can put notes in, you can add a title. I'm gonna just put webinar. All this is for you to know what that link is for. So when you go in your back end, it'll just tell you, so you're not having a second guess and open up the link and see what it is. So we can update that. It does give you clicks, so you can see how many visits and how many like unique visits and whatnot are on your thing. I'm gonna go ahead and click this to copy this so I can show you what we did. We'll paste this in here. Then you see yourbrandsname.com/webinar. I hit enter, and it automatically will redirect me over to the Make Me Watch My Own Website Web Design Webinar Facebook page. Now, that is pretty links. I just wanted to show you guys how awesome that is. No actual settings to set up there. Just wanted to give you guys a good example. The next thing we're going to do under plugins is the really simple SSL. So we're going to come down and click activate on that. While that's active, you got to do one more. Go ahead and activate, and now your SSL should be forced to load HTTPS anytime it loads anything from your website. So you should be good and secure. Moving down the list, the last thing we have is the Yoast SEO. So we're going to go ahead and click activate. And once we have that activated, we're not going to do anything in the settings, but I am, just to be safe, so I don't forget, I'm going to open this up and open the general up. I'm going to do this in a separate tab because I'm going to come back here in a second when we get to creating the menu for the footer and grab a link for the sitemap. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this open. I'm going to go to features, and I'm going to just basically, under XML sitemaps, we'll hit this question mark. I'm going to click see the XML sitemap, and then in the address bar, and I'll move this down so you guys can actually see it. In the address bar is your sitemap URL. So you want to basically just grab this URL. I'm going to go ahead and copy that now. So we just right click and I will copy. And I'm going to use this in a step here in a few, here in a little bit. So I'm going to keep this open in case if I need to go back for some reason if I copy something I'm not expecting to. That's all the plugins, everything's set there. The last thing we need to do is to get the structure started. So we're going to go to tools and we're going to click on import. And I've created a file for you guys that will allow you to actually basically have all the default pages you need created really quick, really simple. So we're going to go ahead and click on install now under WordPress, under the tools and import. Click on run importer. And then once again, it's going to ask you to choose the file. You can click on it or search on it. I have it open in another window, so we're going to drag this in and then upload file and import. What we're going to do here is we're going to actually assign post to an existing user. We'll select our main user that we created. We're not going to check download and import file attachments. We don't need any of that. We just need a couple of the pages that it's created. We're going to click submit. It's going to go in and actually create those pages for us. So now that we've done that, we can come into pages and we can take a look and see that it has all of the pages that we need. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to quick edit this, and I'm going to just change the status to published. I will come back and I will walk through some stuff on the privacy policy page here in a second. If you want to add a new page, all you need to do from this page is simply click on add new. Keep in mind that we're only doing structure at this point. We're going to come back into each page individually at a later time here in a bit and actually make it look good and upload the content and everything else. We're just going to go ahead and title the page if you're creating any new ones. So we'll just put services. And I'm going to go ahead and click on publish and publish. Now that I have that done, next thing we're going to do is our general settings for the site itself. So we're going to come down to settings and we're going to come on up to general. And then we're going to just simply come through and make sure everything is correct. So the first thing is our site title. This is going to be your brand's name. Next thing is your tagline. I don't have a tagline for this site. I'm going to just leave it as just another. Actually, no, we're not going to do that. We'll put be great and stay boosted. All right, so we got the tagline and the title both in there. The next thing we're going to need to do is make sure your email address is correct. Down the list is the time zone. I'm going to go ahead and come in here and see if I can find New York. There we go. Next thing is your date and time format. I'm totally cool with the way it sits right now. Week starts on Monday. That works for me. I'm going to go ahead and click Save Changes. Now that I've done that, we'll get rid of these pop-ups, and then I'm going to actually get started with the next step, which is actually creating our menus. So we'll come under Appearance and we'll go to Menus. This is going to be your first menu. I'm going to change this menu one to header menu just to make it easier for me to remember what is what. I'm going to go ahead and remove where it says homepage, edit this. This is your homepage, but this link at the very top is always your home link, regardless of what page you use. So you want to make sure that you keep this custom link there. And then basically from here, you can get rid of the pages that you don't want in your header menu. The way I like to think of the header menu is just for your regular visitors, people who want to read about you, find out about your products, your services, what you have to offer, things of that nature. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the terms of use agreement. For the example of this website, I'm going to go ahead and remove services. I'm not going to use the services page. Like I said, we'll remove this. Remove the disclaimer, and for right now I'm not going to have a blog, so I'm going to go ahead and remove the blog. So we're going to have home, about, and contact. So that is all I want inside of this menu. One quick side note, they are easy to drag around if you want to move the contact up, and they'll display left to right, so it'll be home, about, contact, and you'll see what I mean in a second. But if you wanted to move them, you can move them that way. And if you want to have a drop down where if you hover over home, about drops down, that's how you do it. Just drag it in, indent it a little bit, and you're good to go. From here, I'm going to go ahead and click Create Menu. We have our header menu saved. The next thing I'm going to do is create a new menu and do our footer menu. The footer menu is for legal pages, your SEO pages, things of that nature. Now, while I am going to be discussing some legal pages, I need to make a disclaimer. I am not an attorney, and before you use any of the content or templates provided by myself on or in any of my properties and content, you should consult a professional. Neither my content nor myself should be taken as legal advice. Please seek professional help with your disclaimers and any other legal pages. Now, I hate reading. I had to do it. Next thing we're going to do is create our footer menu. Click Create Menu. And then we're going to put in any of the menu like items that we need in the footer. The first thing we need to do before we forget is go into custom links, and we're going to paste in our sitemap that we copied earlier. If you remember when we came over here and clicked the CXML sitemap, that thing, copy that, paste that in. We're going to put the link text as sitemap. Anyways, all right, so we got that, add to menu. We have the sitemap in. Then from here, the only thing that I highly recommend above anything that you make sure that you have is your privacy policies. So now we have privacy policy. I'm going to put the contact page. I always like having contact. Terms of use agreement, if you're going to have that. And then, of course, a disclaimer. If you have a disclaimer, once again, I should not be taken for, nothing I say should be taken as legal advice, but disclaimers are important. If you think you may need a disclaimer, contact an attorney and have them help you putting a disclaimer together. Doesn't matter what your website is doing, you probably need a disclaimer, so please go seek legal advice. I'm going to go ahead and click add to menu to add these here. And go ahead and put sitemap at the end. I'm good with the way that sits. I'm going to go ahead and click on save menu. And now we're off to the next one. And that is the reading settings. So we're going to go basically the same set we were with the general. We're going to come under reading. And this is where we're going to take it from a blog into a website with a custom homepage. So as long as you have your latest post selected here, it's going to run and display just your blog post. If you want to have it as a website, that's what we're doing. We're going to click a static page, and then your home page will set to home page. And then if you decide you're going to blog, you would turn the post page down to blog if you're going to actually use the blog post. I'm going to go ahead and leave that there because we are going to be covering that in the extended education modules at a later time. The last thing we need to check and make sure of is that this box is unchecked. You want to make sure that that box is unchecked. If this is checked, it basically tells Google not to look at your website, and that could hurt you in the long run. So please make sure that isn't checked and click Save Changes. Alright, now that we've done that, the next thing to do is your permalinks. You want to go to permalinks, click on post name, and click Save Changes. Now for the disclaimer again, I should not be listened to. You should not take anything I say as legal advice. Basically, if you click on edit, this will take you to your privacy policy page content. This is all put together by WordPress. It gives you a good idea of what you need to have. Just make sure you have your privacy policy filled out and complete. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and just click update. I'm not going to go through all this with you guys. That being said, now that we've done that, I need to take a few seconds to discuss image optimization. Now, this isn't a part of the webinar, but it is something that you need to understand. When it comes to websites, it only makes sense that the smaller the files on your website, the faster your site will load. Now, part of image optimization is image resizing, which is basically making sure that the image is the actual size you're going to display on your website. For example, if we go to before we start, so if you look at the entire width of your website as 1200, then you basically can think if you break this down the middle, then this is 600, that's 600. And if you break that down the middle, it's 300, and then that's the sizes of the images, if you will, that I actually focus on uploading. Aside from resizing, optimizing your images for mobile and web use is just as important. Now, you can do this with Photoshop using the Save for Web option. But if you don't have Photoshop, you can use a free website called tinypng.com. It's amazing. Video walkthroughs for both can be found in the extended education modules. And that being said, please be sure to optimize all of your images. Make sure it's resized properly before you upload to your website, so we can be sure that the website loads in a decent time. Now, we've covered that. Let's start uploading and updating our content. So we're going to go back to our dashboard. Go ahead and click on dashboard. All right. Get rid of some of these other extra windows that we don't need open. Now that we are on the dashboard, we're going to get started inside of the customize section. So we're going to basically go under appearance and we're going to click on customize. So we're going to go ahead into site identity. This is where you're going to upload your logo, site icon. Your title and tagline can also be edited here as well. I'm going to go ahead and click on select logo. Going to go ahead and drag the logo I designed for this in. Anytime you put in, you're going to want to fill out a few things. You always want to make sure that you put in an alt text. So you want to make sure this is just your brand's name example logo file. And then you want to have a description filled out. You don't have to do the caption. I do recommend that you do at least have the alt text. Make sure the title makes sense and it's not like image 01. And make sure the description is filled out. So the description, I'm going to basically just put logo file for your brand's name. All right. And select. And I'm going to go ahead and skip cropping. I have this size the way I want it. Now that we have that in, you see the logos in the header starting to come together a little bit. Next thing, we're going to click select site icon. And I'm going to go ahead and upload files. And we're going to go ahead and bring the icon in. Same thing here. Just put YBN icon. YBN icon and select. I'm kind of rushing through this, but you guys can go in and fill out the stuff. I don't think you guys want to watch me type everything. We'll go ahead and click publish, get the icon, get the logo saved into the site. Gonna go ahead and X out. All right, so real quick before I get into the actual design section, I want to go over a printable that I put together for you guys. I have a copy of one here that I filled out for the webinar. So you can see it here. Let me go ahead and back this up so you can take a look at it. You have it broken down into basically 4 sections. The top part is going to be for your header, which is where your logo and menu is going to go, possibly your social media icons if you want to share those, your footer at the bottom, and then you have a sketch where you can actually draw out how you want your homepage to look, as well as any notes that you need to take if you want to reference into a Word document or something that you have your content in, which is what I have on a separate screen. So as we go through the design phase, I'm going to be dragging and copying and pasting the content from that Word document. So that being said, let's go ahead and hop over to the computer and get started designing our header. All right, so we are in the dashboard. In order to go in and get started on our header, we're going to come over to templates underneath the Elementor icon, and we're going to click on theme builder. Once we are here, we're going to go up and click on header at the top. And then we're going to simply click on add new header. Inside of this, you can go ahead and name your template if you want. I'm just going to go ahead and skip that and click on create template because I'm only going to do one header. Once you are here, there are 2 different ways you can do this. If you want to design from scratch and you don't want to use a template, you can X out of this folder and go ahead and do a free design. To make this easier for all parties involved, I'm going to go ahead and use a basic template. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to come down here and I'm going to go ahead and use this. It's a very simple basic header. So we're going to go ahead and click on insert. And now that you've done that, you see the header is in. It doesn't necessarily look right, and that's because it was designed with a different size for your logo. The menu pulled in is the footer menu instead of the header menu. If you want to add other things, you can do that. But for right now, let's go ahead and get this looking right. So we're going to come up into the icon, if you will, or the image element. We're going to click on the pencil, and we're going to go ahead and click on style, and we're going to bring this to percentage and take this to 100. Now you can see it's starting to come together a little bit. You don't have to worry about the super tiny logo that was in there. We can come back to the content part of the image and align this left. So this takes over to the left. Then we can come over here and change the footer menu, if I can talk, to header menu. And now it's starting to look like it should. Of course, I have this super basic, and we're only going to be doing the home page and the contact page. Everything else can be done once you understand how to do the home page. The rest of them will come fairly easily. And the contact page, I'm going to do that one specifically to show you how to create a good contact form. But for now, we have the pages that we want in the menu. As you see, we have this little navigation pointer is what they call it. I don't like those, so I'm going to go ahead and go into the pointer, and I'm going to say none. And now it's nice and clean. If you want, you can come into the style. You can change the text color, so if it hovers over it, what color you want it to be. We can come in here and set this to like a Let's do a red. So we'll do D. All right. So I got the color in. So now when I hover over it, it'll turn to that red. And then if you want a different color when it's active, you can do that here as well. And I'll just put a light gray. So whenever you're on that page, it'll be light gray. So now that we have those colors set, header is complete. As far as the main design, the next thing you're going to need to do is the actual responsive check to make sure it looks good and is designed right when people view your website on a tablet or on a smartphone. So in order to do that, we're going to come down to the bottom left-hand side in this little sidebar section. And we're going to click on this little, looks like a computer icon. It's the responsive mode. So we're going to click on that. And then we're going to go to tablet. Now, once you're here, you can see the difference in the menus. And if you wanted to, change things, you can at this point. I think that's fine for the header as far as tablets are concerned. So I'm going to go ahead and move into mobile. And this is where normally you will see the major issues. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to actually come in to this section for the logo. And you see the alignment has the different colors in. I'm going to actually make sure that stays left. And then I'm going to go to style. And then it has this as well. And I'm going to go ahead and do percentage and take that up to 100%. So now it looks the way it should. So now that we have the responsive check, we've made sure everything is the way we want it. Let me go ahead and back this back out to desktop. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up with the header. We're going to click publish, and then you're just going to simply click add condition, which basically adds this header to the entire website. Click save and close. And your header is now live. So if you actually go to the website itself, you'll see the header at the top of your website. And you can see it by just simply clicking on this preview. We're going to go ahead and click preview. You see the lighter color gray here, and then you see the red change over when you hover over it. So there, your header is finished. Now if you go back into your dashboard, come back into templates and the theme builder, and we'll move forward with our footer. So we're going to go up to footer, click on footer, and then we're going to click on add new footer. Once again, I'm not going to worry about the template name. We'll go ahead and just click on create template. And just the same as the header, there are free templates that you can use that come with Elementor Pro, or you can do everything from scratch. To make it easy, we are going to be using a template. So we're going to come down. I'm going to go ahead and use this template right here. We'll click insert. And now we have the template imported. That being said, we want to be sure that we get everything done and cleaned up the way we did the header. So the first thing we're going to do is come into the menu in our footer. Of course, it has the right menu, but now we need to make sure that it looks right. We get the spacing and everything else correct. So we can come in here, move this over a little bit if we need to. And since this section is going to be my social media icons, which I can go ahead and drag that up. And we'll go ahead and delete the number. And now that we have that, it's straight across the bottom of the screen. Looks clean. We have the copyright section. We can go ahead and go in here and change that. We can go ahead and change the design by, I'm going to go ahead and put my name in. As far as the social media icons are concerned, you can change the icons if you don't want specific icons. Like I don't want the Google+. We can go ahead and X that out. I don't want the Twitter. I'm going to go ahead and change that over to the Instagram. So I'm going to go ahead and click on icon library. And I'm going to just come up here and find the Instagram icon. We'll click on that. Click on insert. And now we have Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. So I'm going to go ahead and use those. And we'll link out, and I can go ahead and click add item, and I'm going to go ahead and change this to YouTube and click insert. And now you just simply come in, and we're going to paste in the URL for each of these different social media sites. So I'm going to start by coming over. We're going to grab the URL for Facebook. I'll copy that, paste that in here. Make sure we don't have any extra spaces. I'm going to leave it the official color. So we'll go ahead and close out Facebook, click on Instagram, grab that URL, and I have this over. Let me go ahead and bring this over so you guys can see it. I have this in a separate Word document like I mentioned earlier in the webinar. So we're just copying and pasting and bringing those over here. Paste in the Instagram link, the Pinterest URL for my board for this, and then the YouTube link for my channel. All right, now that I have that, we have the menus here, we have the footer, and I might actually go ahead, I'm going to go ahead and delete this. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this down, and this is the thing I love with this, is you can completely change things. So at any point, it's very easy, just drag and move stuff around. I'm going to go ahead and take this center, and I'm going to simplify this a little bit. So I have this down. It's a little bit different than what I had sketched out in my initial thought process, but visually I just think this is going to look better. So we're going to go ahead and go with this. We'll come down and do our responsive check. We'll go to tablet, come down and take a look at it. Still looks good. We'll go to mobile, come down, and we see there's a bit of an issue. It doesn't necessarily lay out right. So we're going to go ahead, come into this, make this, yeah, I know, got it. Edit this, make sure it's centered, and we'll go into style. Make sure everything looks right. We'll go into the column width, and we'll take this up to 100 on the mobile. And then the hamburger stack, we should be able to come in and center that up in the content here. All right, so now we have that where they can click that to open up the menu. We have the separator bar, and then the only thing we'll need here is to change this to 100% on the width, and then that keeps the icons centered below it. I like the way that looks. Footer's ready to roll, so all we need to do is the same thing with the header. We click on publish, click on add condition, make sure it includes the entire site, and then click save and close. Now if you go back to your website, we click refresh. And now you see your footer. Of course, it's not at the bottom of the page because there's no information on the actual home page itself yet. But congratulations, you have now created your header and your footer. It's time to dig into the homepage design. So in order to do that, we're going to come back into our dashboard. Inside of the dashboard, we're simply going to come into pages, and then we're going to come down to homepage and click on edit with Elementor. And now it's time to get started designing our homepage. The first thing we're going to do is come down to the gear in the bottom left hand corner of your screen. We're going to click on settings, and then from here we're going to go ahead and hide the title, and we're going to change the page layout to Elementor full width. If you want to create specific pages on your website that doesn't have the header and footer in it, where you can custom the entire page, then you would use the Elementor canvas, which just makes an entire blank screen. So I'm going to go ahead and change that so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So everything you design is just that, whatever it is for that page. So we're going to go ahead and go back to full width because we want the header and footer in there. And now it's time to get started. Once again, you can use the template or you can do it yourself. For right now, I'm going to go ahead and open up the templates and see if there's anything that I like that's going to be similar to the drawout that I have. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually come up here and type in homepage, just so I can see all of the home pages that they have here. Let's go ahead and take a look. I know I want to keep it super simple. I don't want to complicate it too much because there's not going to be a lot of information on the page itself. And the biggest thing to remember is just because, like for instance, this website is not necessarily any of these things. It's just something that I'm doing kind of drive a little bit of traffic back to the webinar. So it definitely doesn't fit into like Plant Shop or Cake Shop or anything like that, and that's totally fine. What we're looking at is not necessarily the content as much as the design and layout. So as I'm looking through here, I think the best option for me might actually be the homepage for the study. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this. And as you see, it kind of has a cool little video landing page. That would work. Pause that. That would work for one of the sections that I have to showcase the webinar sales video. And I'm looking at this like there's some things that I like, some things I won't use. But for right now, there's a few things on here that I like. So I'm going to go ahead and click Insert. And the one thing, like, it doesn't have the hero section that I like, and that's totally fine. We can change that later. This is going to be a section that I use towards the bottom of the website. So I'm going to go ahead and do one section from scratch. And in this one, we're going to change. I'm going to take this stretch section, yes, to make it full width. We'll go Style. I'll do Classic, and we'll choose Image. The first thing I need is business brand name. Go ahead and drop that in, and I'm going to do the alt text. So business brand name hero image for YBN, and we'll come down to the description and man playing chess. We'll do that. Insert media. And so now that's, and you really can't see it because there's no content in there, but I'm going to go ahead and make some changes. We'll center. Attachment. I'll go ahead and do fixed and size cover. And this is going to make it cover the entire section. So when I come in, and we'll make sure it says no repeat, I can come in here into the total section itself and the layout and change the column height to do minimum height. And then that allows me to actually have this image kind of cover up more space without having any actual elements in here. So once I put the elements in, it'll start looking really clean. So I'm going to start with a heading. We're going to put this in. I'm going to make sure I get my Word document open and start the copy and paste process. I'm going to start with the heading. Going to go ahead and center. I'll go ahead and do a style. We'll change the color to white. And we can do a text shadow, which will give it a little bit of a drop shadow. And we can also come in, which is probably going to look better anyways. We'll come under style, and I'm going to add a background overlay. Give it a little bit of a dark overlay to it, just so the text will actually like pop off of the screen. So we'll go ahead and do that. Come back to the title. We'll go into the textography or typography and change the font size. We'll take it to 50, so let me just 50. And then I'm going to come in, we'll do the next section with text. Let that load, there we go. All right, I'm going to go ahead and delete this, and then I have a little small kind of tagline type thing. Put that in. And then I'm going to go ahead into style. We'll go center, text color white. We'll go into the typography. We'll take this about right there. Come down, decoration. Yeah, that works. All right, so we got that. Come into the content. So we have that done. That's the first section that I have set up for the actual website. The next section is the showcase for the blog post. So I'm going to come in here, and this is going to be another section we're going to create. I'm going to break it into two sections. I might not keep it 50-50 depending on how this looks, but we'll give it a shot. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And because I have this as the next one down, it's set at the default background setting. So I'm not going to actually worry about making this stretch full section. So the first thing I'm going to do is put in an image. We're going to drag this over. Click on choose image, and then I'm basically going to bring in the next image that I'm going to use, which is the naming a business thumbnail. Go ahead and bring this in. and then it's just naming a business thumbnail. How to name a business or brand blog post thumbnail. We'll click insert media. And now that we have that, the one thing I'm going to do, because it doesn't look right to me, it looks a little too tight through here. I want some extra spacing. So I'm going to come into edit image. I'm going to make sure image size is actually adjusted because we want to make sure in anything that we use, and I mentioned this earlier, is the image optimization. I already have this size down so it's not a massive image file, but the display size of it needs to be down. We don't need it to be large. We need to make sure, because we're looking at this as half a page, looking at it with 768 as far as the width is concerned, that basically makes it half a page. And then the medium setting would be down to the quarter page, and you can see that just by doing that. So we're going to go ahead and put it back to medium large, and then we're going to start filling this section out, which is going to be our call to action. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the elements. You can come into the search widget and just simply come in and go call, and then now you see the call to action. So you can just drag that in. I am not going to be using the image on this side, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that. So all we have is the headline, the text, and the button. I'm going to come in here and we're going to vertical align and put this in the middle. This will make sure that it stays kind of even with the image itself. And now that I have that, I'm going to actually come back in here because I wanted to see visually how that's set. So I know padding and everything else, how this is going to look. So I'm going to start off. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to come into this total section. We're going to edit here. And under advanced, I'm just going to set an extra margin on the top and the bottom just to give it some extra spacing. And we'll go 50 pixels. I kind of like the way that looks. You can hit this, by the way. Lets you actually see it full screen. So now we have that. And of course, we still got all this other stuff down here. I still may use a few more, but I know I'm definitely using this section. I'll just have to change a few things. Anyways. Open that back into the editor, and now we'll come into the call to action and start editing the actual content. So we're not using the image. Go ahead and close that out. Go into the content. We're going to go into the title of it, and that's how to name your brand. We'll copy that off of the text document, paste that in. Then I have some written content for the body. And then the last thing is the button. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that URL. We'll copy, and then I'll come in and just paste that in here. Now, when you're doing links within the Elementor page builder on your pages and blog posts, there's two things you need to, or two options when you're putting in links. And that's if you want them to go directly to the page in the same window, or if you want it to open up a new window or a new tab, if you will, when they click on the link. So in order to change that, you can click on the link options and then just simply click on open in new window. Now that I've done that, the next thing we're going to do is the naming a business write-up that kind of goes along with this. So in order to get to that, the next thing, I'm going to actually go with like a grayish background, do a little bit of a gradient maybe. So we're going to go ahead and add a new section. We'll go with the full width section, stretch that out. And I'm going to come into style, and instead of clicking on the classic in order to get the image and the color, I'm going to click on the gradient button, and we're just basically going to change these colors and give us a kind of a gray to black. And as you see, some of these can look really cool. You can play around with this stuff and get some really nice effects. I'm actually going to take this a little bit lighter. And then I'm actually going to turn this into more of a red, because I think that might actually look cool. And I actually like that. I'm not sure if I'll keep that once I get the text on there, but we'll see. All right, so I'm going to come in. We'll go ahead and bring in our heading for that section. I'll center that. Put in the heading. And then now that I have that, I can see I'm gonna need spacing on this one as well. So I can go back to edit the setting and we'll go advanced, and I'll do the same thing on the other one. Actually, no, I won't. We're gonna put that at 0. I'm gonna change the padding on the top and the bottom. And that gives the spacing on the inside of this section instead of on the outside, which is what we did here. So in this one, we're gonna add a setting on the inside, and I'll keep it at the 50. So we'll take this to 50, and then we'll take the bottom to 50. You can type it in as well if you want to. Now that we have that, we'll change this over in the style to white. It may look a little weird with the coloring, but I can fix that in a second, if depending on what it looks like once we get this done. So we'll take in the text. Then I'm gonna bring over the text. Put the text in. I'm not going to be using this color. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to keep the black text in there. I'm going to change the color on this to black as well. And then I'm going to go in and change this gradient. Maybe do something not as harsh. And get rid of the bright colors and just go with like a darker gray. Yeah, I think that looks a little bit better. I might actually take it to a white. Yeah, we'll do that. All right. So now that I have that section, and I'm going to actually center this, so I'm going to come into style and center the whole thing. Looks better that way. All right. So I have the naming a business section. The next thing is the domain call to action, right before we get into how to make a website. And this is actually pretty cool because I'm selling how to make a website, so this section actually works perfect for me. For what I'm going to do, I don't need any of these other sections. So I'm going to just come through and delete all these one at a time. There we go. All right, so now that I have that, the next thing I'm going to do is the domain call to action that goes to both the tutorial to buy a domain as well as to HostJack to register one. So I'm going to go ahead and put in a new section for that. And I'm going to go ahead and use this 3-column section. We'll click on that. And then I'm going to change the background on this. We'll stretch the section, change the background color to a black. And then I'm going to just come in. I'm going to bring in a heading. It's going to be very simple. Make sure that it fits in there. And then I'm going to have 2 buttons to go with it. And I may drag these and kind of change the way it looks a little bit once I get this in here. And we can drag this down. Let's put it 60. Maybe there we go, 60%, and then we'll split these 2 at the same, which should be 20 and 20. So now we can just add the 2 buttons in here and we're good to go once we actually finish this section. So we're going to go ahead and do the style. I'll put that to white, and I'm going to actually come in and do the padding like we did on the last one. Turn off the link, and then I'm going to do 25. Actually, I'll do 20 on the top and 20 on the bottom. And then I'm just coming up here. We're going to grab a button, bring that in. We'll justify that to take up the full section. And then in the text is going to be tutorial. Go ahead and grab the link and paste that in. Go ahead and put that in new window. Justify that. I'll make that button a medium so it's a little bit bigger. And we can come up here to this. Put that in the middle so it stays middle across the board. We have the tutorial. We can go ahead and change the color on that because the green on black I don't like. So we can go ahead and put the background color black. And then we're going to go ahead and do a border radius solid, and we'll do 2 pixels. There we go. And then if you wanted to do curved buttons, you can just basically use the border radius, and that will allow you to basically create those rounded pill look, if you will, buttons. And I actually like the way that looks, so we're going to keep that way. And then I'm basically going to do an inverted version of that for the hover, and then I'm going to kind of reverse that for the second button. So we're going to come into the hover section, and when you hover over it, I want it to invert. So we're going to make the background color white, and then I'm going to make the actual text color black. And we're not going to worry about the border because you're not going to see it. So we're just basically going to leave it like that, so it just does that, you know, little invert look. Now that we have everything set on this, I'm going to come over here and right click and duplicate, and then you can drag in and put it in that section. Now you have the button basically done. You're just changing a few things. So now we can come into the tutorial and click on or type in buy now, put in the URL or change the URL. We'll click this, open a new window, still set. And now we just need to change the colors if I'm going to do this as a separate color. So I'm going to click on the pencil, make sure it's selected, go to style, background color white, text color black. Close that out, there we go. And then we'll go under hover and just do the same thing, just switch the black to white and white to black. And so when you hover over these, they have different looks. Kind of makes it stand out. So now that I've done the domain section, we're at this last section, and then we will have the homepage designed. So that being said, let's go ahead and hop into it. Yeah, I think I might keep that. I'm going to change the style though. I don't like the text, so I'm going to go ahead and just put this back to default. All right, so we'll put default. Go ahead and drop the text size down. Yeah, we'll make it 42. And you see it's got a padding in here, the way it aligns. So you might want to come into the section. You may want to go under advanced. You see it's got a 80 pixel padding. We can go ahead and hit 0. And it doesn't really matter because we're not going to keep this aligned to that side. But we're going to go back into the heading, and we'll go ahead and change that now. Put that to the right. For some reason, it's a little bit crazy to the side, so I'm going to go ahead and make sure we have, let's put 10 pixels padding on the left and the right. That'll kind of give us some extra spacing on the side. Then I have my text. This is where we're going to see the changes in the way you set things out, because this is quite a bit bigger. Of course, we'll go to style and get that aligned to the right as well. We might actually, let me back that out. We'll go center. And this is something, you know, you can always change stuff. So I'm looking at this now and I'm like, this second paragraph in this last line, I'm going to go ahead and just get rid of, just to clean up the spacing, because I don't need that much. So I'm going to come in here. We'll change this to a medium button. And I'll change this to start the webinar now. The webinar now. We'll grab the link and put that in. Maybe. There we go. Shake this, make sure it opens a new window. Change the colors. And with this, I'm just basically going to go white. Actually, the background. Kind of do a little light like that. Text colors right. Border. Go 2 pixels and change this to a white. And I'll go ahead and change that background color again. Drop that all the way down. And align buttons, center. Yeah, I'll go center. Justified, it kind of makes the button a little big. I'll center the heading as well. And then I'm going to take this section, vertical align to the middle. Change out the link for the YouTube video. And when you do videos, while we're here, just so you know how this works, we have the video in.
Welcome. Let me save you some money.
We don't need that. Once the video's in, you can leave it where it will display the thumbnail that you set in YouTube, but doing so doesn't help with your page time. So what we're going to do is what's called the lazy load. So we're going to come down to image overlay. We're going to turn on the image overlay and lazy load, and then we'll choose the image and we'll upload the image that we want for that. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this off the other page, drag that in, get that uploaded, and then I'm just going to web design webinar thumbnail. Same thing, web design webinar thumbnail for about video. I don't know. Can't type, obviously. Insert the media, then that way it loads this image, and that's just a way to make sure that it loads pretty quick. And we'll load medium large, that way it loads even faster. Take this full screen, and now we can come through and actually look at this and see how this looks overall as a website. Of course, you have your header done. We got the main hero section. We have our little shout out to call to action to go to the blog post. Everything looks good. Colors you may want to change. Background image, you may see this and go, I don't know if I like that image. And if it's in a template, it's the same way as we did earlier in the video. You can come into this section, hit the 6 dots in order to get open the edit section. Under style, you can change the background image. If you want to keep that, just change the overlay where it's got that purple overlay. You can put that to black, give it a totally different look that way as well. And it's all on you. From that point, you can change the opacity if you want to do it that way. You can also do it down here, brighten up the background a little bit. I'm going to go in here and add some padding because this kind of sits a little tight. So I can come into the padding, and I'm going to go ahead and link it all together, and that automatically gave us a little bit of extra space. But if I take this up to like 25, it'll add, in my opinion, the right amount. So we'll come over and take a look, and you see it looks a little bit better. You can also, with that, in the section, come down to the background for the text and make the background have a black little square behind it. And then you can also take this and make this a little transparent just so that pops out a little bit more than normal. So that being said, I'm good with the way it looks. Everything looks good to me. The last thing we need to do, as always, is to come down and check out the responsive look and make sure everything's right. First thing is the tablet. Come down. It does go to 2 lines here, so you can come in, go into the typography, and it has it set here. So if you wanted to change that, you can do that here. Drop it down one more just to be sure, and then we have the buttons. And then you have that takes care of that. And then from here, you can actually come into the section, and you can come to the advanced and the responsive side. And at this point, you can reverse columns if you want to on the tablet, which would basically get these, the different columns when it, goes down to different sizes. It'll reverse these if you wanted to do that. The way this actually sits, I believe I'm actually going to take these to 100% for the responsiveness. So I'm going to come into this one, and column width on this one is going to be 100. That way the video is full screen, and then I'll do the same thing on this one. And we'll just come into layout and put this to 100. And now that that's done, looking through the rest of it, of course, we've already done the alignment or the responsive check for the header and footer. So we're just checking the page content itself. Everything looks clean. I like the way it looks. So next thing to do is go in and check the mobile phone and make sure everything looks good there. For the most part, this is going to have to change. So we'll come in here to the typography on mobile, and we'll change that down to get that to look right. Change the text. Come down, we can change the heading text for how to name your brand, get that looking a little bit better. So we can come down to content, title, typography, and change the size. Make sure it's all on one line. Everything else looks good. You can change this to one line if you want and center it. So we can go ahead, put that, let's take that down one, take it to 16. And then from there, we can go over to content and center it. We have the buttons, and then we're good. So from here, you can go ahead, and of course, you can change the buttons, where it says, start the webinar now. Go ahead and do that just because. So we'll come into typography, and then of course we'll just change this again just to where we need it. So we'll drop that down manually to make sure it sits right, and that's at 12. So I'm good to go. We have the responsiveness built for the home page, all the content put together and clean, designed, ready to roll. So we're going to go ahead and click on update. And at this point, we have built our home page. Like I said, we are not going to do the about page. You've watched me design one page, you'll understand the rest of them. The only thing that is a must, in my opinion, is your contact page. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on this and exit the dashboard. Make sure you have that published. And there's one thing we did miss, and I apologize for that, and that is changing the information on the page. So once you've published your page and you get on this page here, you can come in here and then change this. You want to change this as what the name of your website is. So for me, this is going to be your brand's name tutorial website. Then from here, you can get into the different things with the plugins like SEO. You'll see the content scores and things here. SEO is a beast of its own. Taking the time to go in and try to do all of this along with finishing and launching a website can be very time consuming. So I'm not going to be going into this. Feel free to check the extended education modules and know that SEO by Yoast puts out a lot of trainings on YouTube that will help you understand Yoast a lot better than I could, because they're the ones that actually put this plugin together. That being said, we're going to come up, make sure you get the title of it changed, and then we're going to click update. Once it's updated, we'll go back to all pages, and then I'm going to go ahead into the contact page. We'll click on edit with Elementor, and I'm going to show you real quick how to do a contact form with Elementor that will directly email you from the form into your email account. So of course, the first thing, we're going to get rid of this contact. So we're going to go back into the settings in the bottom left hand corner, the little gear icon, and we're just going to click on the thing to hide the title and change the page layout to Elementor full width. Get that changed over, and then we're going to click on the templates, and we're going to find the template that we're going to use for this. So we're going to search for contact. And now that we have that, you're just going to look and see if there's one that you like the look of. I'm going to go ahead and use this last one right here that I see. It's kind of like a construction company contact. So I'm going to go ahead and use that. We're going to go ahead and click on insert. And I'm going to change a couple of these things. I'm only going to be doing a form. I don't want any information given out. I don't want a phone number or anything like that, address, none of that. So I'm going to come down here and basically just X out anything that I don't need, basically leaving nothing but the contact form. So now that I have that done, we have the contact us. We'd be happy to help and advise if you have any questions or inquiries. I'm going to go ahead and leave that the same. And for this one, just for the purpose of changing the background out, because that just doesn't look right, I'm going to use the same background I used on the header or the hero section on the home page. So I'm going to go into my media library. As you import templates, those images go into your library. So you're going to want to come through here and delete any images that you're not using. For instance, let's say this image right here, titles teacher 3, it was imported in that first template we used for the home page. So you simply want to click on it and click on delete image and OK. We don't need this image, we'll delete it. Same with this image, delete it. This image, and we're going to go through and delete anything that we don't need so it doesn't take up any place or any extra space on our servers that we don't want to have. We're not going to use these images. There's no need in us storing it on our server and taking up space on our website. So we're just simply coming through. I'm going to just delete everything, and I'll come back in here in a second once we finish this and grab that chess image for the background on the contact page. Now that we've done that, we're done. We'll check the chess image, click insert media. We now have this set, and then now you just have the form. The only thing I don't like about the form is, one, I don't need a phone number, so we can go ahead and close that. You can change the email column width to 50%, and the same thing with name. You may want to do a subject, so you may want to go ahead and add a new section for a subject line if you want, whatever. For now, I'm just going to leave it like this: name, email, and message. I'll change the color, so I'm going to go into style, and we're going to come down to button, and I'm going to change this background color because I really don't like that. We'll just go black. Other than that, I like the way it looks. The only thing you need to do at this point, and we're going to go under content and come down to actions after submit. This is where you're going to make sure you tell it to email you. It says email, but now if you come under email, it's going to show your default email address. If that is an email that you use on a regular basis, that is totally fine. Leave it. If you do not have that email set to one that you use on a regular basis, you will need to change this. You want to make sure that you change it to one that you check on a regular basis. I don't think I can say that enough, because you don't want to miss out on emails that could possibly lead to business, customers, clients, whatever it is that you're trying to do with your website. You want to make sure that you have a way for them to contact you. And nothing will hurt your brand more than having a contact form and people thinking they're sending you emails and you never receiving the emails. I can go ahead and click on update. And then from here, our website is live and ready to roll. All we need to do is go through some last minute things, and we'll be able to actually start promoting that our website is up. So I'm going to open link in a new tab so we can go to the actual website itself. Take a look around. Of course, the about page for this is not complete. It's not going to be completed inside the webinar, but you have your header. And this is one of the main things you want to do. Once you finish and you think you're good to go, you want to go through and visually look at everything. If you hover over your logo, you can see in the bottom left-hand corner with most browsers the link it's actually taking you to. And that's the same with any of the links that you have. So we're going to come through and just kind of look at the links and where they go that are set throughout the page, and your entire website for that matter, and make sure that all the links are displaying properly. You may want to click on it, make sure it opens up the right links, make sure you don't go to like 404 pages or pages to a website that doesn't exist. So we're just slowly looking through, making sure all the content is good, checking the actual links to make sure they go where they need to go. Everything looks good, no issues. I am seeing in the sitemap that it's showing a little bit crazy, so I'm gonna have to change that. Come up, we'll do here, and I'm gonna open menus in a new tab and just fix that. And this is the reason why you go through this. You want to make sure everything works right. And I'm just gonna go ahead and do this and click save menu. And we're going to take a look at it again. And this is, like I said, you want to go through and check on everything, because you don't want to wait until it's too late to have an issue that you forgot about, or that you looked over. There we go. It's showing up right. We'll click on it, make sure that it takes us to our sitemap, and it does. Problem solved. So, and that's one of those things sometimes with linking happens. There are issues. So you just need to make sure you take a look at everything. We have our Facebook link. Let me back up to the actual page. Check Facebook goes. Instagram is good. Pinterest, YouTube. All right, so all the links look good. Everything is good to go. About page, like I said, you'll want to finish that before you start telling people about it. But once you do that, you'll check that. You'll also want to look into a few things like GT metrics to make sure your website loads fast and there aren't any massive issues with your website that you looked over. You can do that by copying your domain name and open up its gtmetrics.com. And what this is going to do is it's going to actually test the speed of your website. So you can come in and you can paste in your URL. You want to check the browser for what you want to check in. You want to make sure that it's in the area where you're in. So we'll do Dallas, USA. Connection, I'm going to go ahead and do off. So we're going to go ahead and click Analyze. It's going to take a few minutes because it's got to be added to the queue. Once it runs, it's going to test how fast the site loads, how many different things it tries to load as it's actually pulling the information from the web, and give us an actual score. And as you see right now, and that's one thing we haven't done yet, is the cache. Going through Manage WordPress and flushing the cache so it shows the new page. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. Click Flush Cache, and then we're going to do it back and forth twice. And this is only for, massive changes on the site. I'll do it back and forth twice just to play it safe. It doesn't say anything's cached, but we're going to cache auto optimize as well. Back to Manage WordPress, flush that cache, and then do the same thing with auto optimize again. Just kind of, making sure everything is done right. So we have those that cache deleted. And you see here, it's solid score. We have page speed score of 100%, Y-slow score of 99%. But as you see, this is the image that they got for the page. So it still showed a cached version, which is what the homepage edit this is. So we can go ahead and click on retest and get it to go ahead and pull in the new version of it with all the extra text content. It may change the score a little bit. It may not. We'll find out here in a second now that it's actually pulled in the updated version. It changed the Y-slow score by 4, and it dropped the page speed by 1. But if you come in here and look, you're using a CDN because that's what the Managed WordPress is for through HostCheck. Everything looks good. It's a website that loads in 1.6 seconds. There's only 20 requests. The average number of requests is 91. So as you see, you've built a successful website. If you've optimized your images, everything should be running smooth. And guess what? You now have built your website.